On today's episode of The Back of the Bird, we are joined by Greg Downing, second most games ever played by an American player in the NLL, a wonderful career, and a great conversation with him about a whole bunch of stops he made, including a bunch, or at least early, with Paulie. Also chat about some NLL news and notes, Zack Greer retiring, and really exciting, we have some new sponsors. We have an interview with Kilo, a new sponsor of the league, and we really chat about what their product is all about. And then we have a new sponsor for the Back of the Bird, PO Athletic. Really excited to have them on board. You'll hear everything you need to know about them right before the interview. So a great episode ahead. Really looking forward to it. Let's get right into it. Episode 131 of the Back of the Bird.
Take your first ride and run, baby, run. If you want a sign, this is it. You're mad, your magic, you're as hot as a gun. You wanna play with fire, consider this. You'll chase the thrill if it's worth the hit, 'cause you never ever wanna work for it. Take your first ride and run, baby, run. You got a spine of steel and a...
Okay, we're back. Episode 131 of Back of the Bird, brought to you by Cottage Springs. Our friends over at Cottage Springs, we're pushing the 7%ers, punched up. I've seen Paulie firsthand get punched up, I think, before. And I've
Paulie's
seen
probably punched a few people up too.
Paulie has also punched a few people up. That's the theme of the NLL in the last few weeks here. Punched up, but it's they're awesome. We had them. I think I've told the story before. We had them at the end of the year party of my last at the end of last year, and all the Roch boys came over, and a few shall remain nameless, but ended up tarps off, having a flex off, and the boys were punched up, to say the least. But get out and try the 7% Cottage Springs. My go-to flavor on those ones, the watermelon dragon fruit. You can't go wrong. So go to the LCBO or your Costco. LCBO $22.95 for your mixed 8-pack of flavors. So shout out to Cottage Springs. We appreciate their support again. Try them. They have some all-time innovations in the pipeline. Let's say we know a guy who knows a guy. It's going to be a fun little spring summer for anybody that likes their springers. So stay tuned for some new innovations there. But let's jump into it, Paulie. How many goals tonight?
Zero. Big loss. Big loss. A little shorthanded tonight, but it's been like the first time I've been on the skates in like a couple months, I think, dude. Just the way it's worked out. But hey, I still got it. Just taking, stick on pucks. Just crispy outlets. I'm a crispy outlet guy. So
yeah, bang, bang, boom, boom, close the gap.
Not quite the same as lacrosse where I'm just buzzing up the floor, dingle, dangle. Here we go. Look at this. Look at that.
I love that video. It's so good. But yeah, dude, Paulie, I mean, huge shout out on the old pump fake reach around. That's an all-time move, and you pulled it off. And you know what? If I was to coach the other team, I would have thought about throwing the flag. That foot looked close.
It was close. For sure.
Yeah.
It was close. That was kind of like, again, if you look at the clip, Burnsy's coming off the bench, Dane's to his left. So again, if you're a betting man, one of those guys was getting it. So I was kind of like thinking Dane was gonna get it, and I was gonna kind of like come back up and maybe pick for him or something, do something, get in his way. But then all of a sudden the ball's coming, and I was like going full steam. I was like, oh shit. And then I'm just happy I didn't throw it 5-hole.
Yeah.
Just happy I didn't throw it 5. So I didn't think I think why I almost went the crease too, because I didn't think it went in. Because it kind of went off the outside of his leg pad. I heard it. And then everyone erupted. But yeah, it was. And then I kind of remember looking, I was like, fuck. If you just remember, I'm like, man, I think I'm close to being in the crease there. But
dude,
I don't know.
and let me tell you, it was like watching an old reliable snowblower there. Once those legs started going, you were finely tuned pistons. The hip flexors got loose, and those knees were almost hitting you in the chin. You were running so hard. It was unbelievable.
Dude, someone else said that. They're like, they're like, hey, your knees were going really high. I'm like, really? I'm like, fuck, I feel like my knees don't even move. But yeah, the 18-wheeler, I just got to get it into like 18th gear. It takes a while. But once it's in, but then it's also like, again, hence why I almost went in the crease, because once I'm going full steam, it takes another 30 feet
Yeah,
for me
I
to
love
stop.
I love that you said you were thinking Dane was going to get it, so you're going to turn around and do an up pick. By the looks of that clip, it looked like you were going to bury the goalie. Is what
Either way, just crash the net. Puck's on net and fucking dig for a rebound in the crease.
He was going to
You're gonna do
bounce
the
off the
Rory-
end boards and then come back and set an up pick from there. Yeah.
You're going to do the Rory Smith St. Michael's buzzers run the goalie.
Rory and Paul Dawson unchained. Just fucking
Yeah, dude.
very
the Ro-
easy to move
if
over the
there's
crossbar.
if there's anyone out there that
I
doesn't
would
know
have got
what
you
we're
on
talking
Rogan.
yeah, this Rory Smith Unchained video of him just from the blue line in a tier 2 junior A hockey game, running the goalie and then just wanting it from whoever was willing to step up is an all-time clip. So I'm sure some people who have never seen it before will have some fun looking at that one. But big win for Paulie. The Bandits are rolling. The place is selling out, and things are looking good in Banditland. But Donnie, maybe similar story for old Donnie boy down there.
Yeah, good win for us at home. Really good
Sellout.
crowd. First
Talking about
sellout. First
Yeah,
sellout.
baby.
It was Gretzky jersey night, so first 4,000 fans got a Gretzky jersey, and shout out to Vegas. They've treated us really well on a number of things, and they give us we all got a Gretzky jersey, and they gave us our jerseys got auctioned off. They had a second copy for us to take home, which I've never really
No
seen
way.
before.
Cool.
And we did the same with our Tucker Out Lymphoma jerseys, so we've got to keep one of those too. Not the game used ones, so the people who are buying those are getting them. But
If
really cool.
If you bought a jersey and you're sniffing it at home, it was game worn.
Yeah, and I just ignited the most incredible scoring run of Paulie's career on the podcast. I mean, you had 2 in the preseason, I think, and 2 already here. So, somebody mentioned it to me this week. They said, like, I wasn't watching at the time. They said, hey, Paulie scored again. And I said, yep, he did. Of course he did.
Paulie might get what you thought was his career total this year.
Yeah, seriously.
Hey, also, just we were kind of on the right track. Just to circle back on Kurt Davies, the Pirate, in the Burlington Blaze alumni game. Yeah, so he's lost his sight in his eye through some medical complications.
Okay.
So I think I kind of said that along those lines. Anyways, Joel Lavelle kind of confirmed it, but he was saying same thing as you. He's like, dude, you can't give him a soft pass because he sees like 2 balls. So he's like, you gotta fucking hum it at him.
Oh yeah. You got to snap it in there. But it's, again, still one of my all-time favorite lacrosse memories so far, I think, is him just looking off Lanch because he couldn't see Lanch coming off the bench because he had an eye patch on. It's just great stuff. But
What's up with you, bud? What's up with you?
Not much. Same business as usual. Still being a fanboy on Twitter and just pumping things up as much as we can.
Dude, you're crushing it though. I love it.
I enjoy it too, Danny.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I'm actually gonna I think Donnie, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna tweet out that picture of how my TV was initially set up, like way almost like, because I think people will get a good laugh out of that. But it's been really fun to watch these games, and we've got some behind the scenes stuff going on, trying to put something together with a gambling company here. So there's some potential of something going on, but I'm not sure if that'll be something that's going to get picked up onto a broadcast, or if
we could be the next busting with the boys here. We're going independent. We're breaking free. We're going independent. Okay,
that's it, man. So
breaking news. Even though we always were independent, we're going even more independent.
I think we are independent.
We're going even more independent.
Despite all the offers to join Barstool, we are going to stay independent.
We stand in solidarity with Bussin'.
Yeah.
Dude, speaking of that, did you guys check it out or no?
Surviving?
Yeah.
No.
Parts of it.
Man.
Yeah.
You gotta watch. If anything, watch the Pink Whitney wedding. It's like just all time. Like it's I guess like the funny thing is that it's all coworkers
Yeah.
and like legit they just want like you're legit losing friends over this, which is like hilarious. And then like the boss is the guy stirring the whole and like just loves it.
No, I love
Like
that. I'll have to give
like
it a watch.
it's just, and then there's an all-time clip I think like it's probably like where they do like the so like they come back for the finale or whatever like after it's over, and then Ryan Whitney's like, this fucking guy, I've known him since he was delivering papers, and his company is built on everyone just fucking hating each other, and it works. It's the craziest thing. Like it's mental,
Well,
but yeah, you
I
gotta
think
watch it. It's great.
the funny part about it is it's like, and I don't know if it's maybe a subconscious thing or actually something people recognize, is that everybody that can relate because they have a corporate job probably feels the same about their coworkers, but they can't actually say it or action it. So they're living vicariously through the ability to tell someone to their face that they're a fucking loser. So it's one of the fine forms of art that I think is missing from this day and age. But yeah, I think I'll have to give it a try. But yeah, outside of being a fan and just working away here, it's been nice, man. It's there's been a lot of, not to get like too philosophical with it, but it's like or emotional, I guess, to a certain degree. But it's cool to have weekends and be like around to go visit the family, go see my buddies, and kind of like, a lot of these guys are transitioning into their kids growing up and getting married and stuff. And I think it's probably the only real downside of what we do, and despite loving it so much, is like you miss stuff, right? And
Sacrifice. The
yeah, there's a
sacrifice.
lot of sacrifice, and I think there's certain things you miss out on. Maybe you don't drift away from people that are like you don't play lacrosse with, but it's like once you do have the time, you realize that you kind of missed some stuff. So that part's been really cool. I've kind of become a little kid again, just playing pond hockey. Not to brag, I was playing pond hockey the other day, and some guy asked if I played pro at any point. So,
Whoa.
um,
Dude, did I tell you a story about the Leaf game when I went to the Leaf game?
no, but I
Uh,
love that you're ready with a pro guy story immediately.
what was the other story I said I had to say on the pod? Or anyways, so I went to the Leaf game back in December, and I was with my buddy. He's got season, so anyways, we're having a drink in between the periods, and then this guy comes up to me. He's wearing a Leaf jersey, and we're just having a drink, and he comes up. He's like, "Hey man, like I gotta ask you a question." I'm like, "Yeah man, what's up?" He's like, "Are you a healthy scratch? Like, do you play for one of the teams?" And I was like, "Oh no, man, no." He's like, "You serious? You're not?" I'm like, "No, dude." He's like, "Oh man, I just." He's like, "I just lost the bet. Like, could have sworn you played for like one of the teams here." Like, I'm like, "Oh," I'm like, "Dude, I was wearing like a nice coat, but I was wearing like jeans, and then like I'm drinking a tequila soda. I'm like, dude, a healthy scratch wouldn't be at the bar." But so anyways, I was like, "Well, man," I'm like, "if it's any consolation, like." I'm like, tell your buddy I play pro lacrosse maybe and get your money back. So, long story short, then like me and my buddy go for a bite to eat at Real Sports. And then the same two guys, like we're just like sitting at the bar. They come beside us and they're like, "Oh, what's up, guys?" So then we start like shooting the shit with, and they're good old Belleville boys. They're completely hammered. They're brothers. His brother's falling asleep on the bar. But by the end of the conversation, we're golfing. They're members at Blackberry, so we're golfing Blackberry this summer. We're also going to his bachelor party in probably Dominican, and we're getting invited to the wedding. Maybe we might even be in the wedding party by the end of it. We were like best friends with these guys. It was fucking so funny. So they're like, and then it's like, "Hey, can we give you like?" He's like, "Hey man, like we should like exchange numbers and shit." So my buddy like he just has like business cards. So he's like, "Here, like take my cell's on my business card. Like take that." We haven't heard anything back yet, but
Okay.
I mean, we're holding out hope. We're holding out hope that at least we get the Dominican for the bachelor party. But yeah, it was just so funny.
That's great. That's all time. But yeah, outside of that, nothing else going on. But we can kind of maybe we jump into. Do you want to do like quick score rundown from previous week, or you want to skip that?
Well, one thing I want to talk about just kind of revisiting it was we've talked about this on the podcast before, but I don't know if you guys watched any of that Georgia Ottawa game when there's no music, and basically no one there because of the snowstorm. A lot of fans were talking online this week, and a lot of people on the cross culture talking about it. But some people like the no music. Some people obviously prefer the music. Where do you guys kind of stand on the whole deal?
I think music is a good thing for the general population that will go to a game because it kind of makes it more of like a party thing. I think it can be too loud.
Okay.
That would be my stance is like it can be too loud to the point where like you can't like I've gone to games with people before that I wasn't playing in, and they're trying to ask questions as to like what's going on, and I can't hear them like two seats over. So I think that, and I think there's obviously strategy in that in terms of how loud it is when a team's on offense or whatever. So D can't talk or whatever, what have you. But yeah, I think I like the idea of music, but I think it could be a little quieter.
Yeah, I think music is good. I think like just like watching hockey sometimes, like when it's like dull, then it's just dull. Like there's no one cheering. Like at least when music's going, it's creating like an atmosphere.
Yeah.
But like I was gonna say the same thing Lomi said. Like it's got to be kind of like not the dinner party, but it's got to be in the background where you can hear it, but you're still like enjoying the game and still like able to have a conversation. Like it
Yeah,
shouldn't be like you're at like a goddamn rock concert where like your eardrums are getting blown out, but it's got to be in the background. I think it's got to be going. I think it's just like I think it just adds to it, and it's something that like again when it's just kind of I mean there's not really down times in lacrosse because it's just so back and forth, but like I always think about like hockey where they used to like have the organ and stuff going. Like it just kind of creates something out of nothing where like just gets people maybe more engaged because there's music going. So I would say keep it. I think that's
yeah,
again like another thing that makes our league different than other leagues. You gotta find something too, right? You can't just be like every other league. So I like it, but again, it's like we have been to those barns where it's like, all right, it's a 10 when we're on defense, and then when we're on offense, you can't hear the music. So it's like, okay, I don't know how you can like regulate that, but we should
yeah. We need a
like,
decibel. We need a decibel guy.
yeah. So, but no,
Um,
I think you got to keep it.
I agree. And this topic just reminded me of when I said on the podcast, like 2 weeks into my NLL career, that the music was loud and I was calling for it from a defender and he couldn't hear me. And for some reason, I thought that wouldn't get me fined in court and that people would hear that and not take that as rookies complaining about getting looked off, which I guess is exactly what it was. Um, yeah,
so you ended up getting fined.
I'm not the thinker around here. That's for sure.
Fair enough. Yeah, I guess other stuff around the league. We had a nice little retirement tribute for Zack Greer, which was pretty cool, man. Again, I think once you start like playing with guys for a long time, you kind of like forget all of the things that they did.
Yeah.
And again, a guy like that, like kind of pumped Canadians onto the scene. Going down to Duke and being at the forefront of that spotlight, going through like the scandal that they did, and then again looking back on that situation and everyone kind of being proven innocent and all of it being such a lie, and the loyalty that he showed to Pressler to go to Bryant, I think is probably one of the more underrated moves in lacrosse because he could have gone anywhere and or he could have stayed or whatever. He could have done anything, and he showed that loyalty. I think is a pretty cool move, and a guy that I got to see play for a long time because I think is he an 85, Paulie?
86.
86. So he would have played against my brother every other year. I remember that growing
Yep.
up too.
Yeah.
Congrats to him, and obviously he's stepped right into a role with Donnie and the Vegas boys. So really cool thing there.
Yeah, really two roles. He's coach, like he's the director of development, which is kind of a coaching role. And he's been really helpful to me personally this year. We've known about this as a team for a while. He's been serving as that coaching role all year, and then he's also been doing the color commentary for our home games, and he did it with Jumbo with Jake Elliott on the weekend, and just to have two guys talking at that high of a level to each other on the broadcast, I think was great. And again, folks around the league investing in your broadcast people, I think really helps teach people the game. And Zack's a natural at it, really good. And again, really appreciate what he's done for me this year. He's helped me out a lot already. So yeah, congrats to him.
Dude, and like one thing with Greer's though is his brother likes to call him my brother-in-law. Like he was the high pick, but then he didn't play box for a long time. So when he came in, like, not gonna say it was a struggle, but like it took him a couple years when he was in mini, and then those like Edmonton days, dude. Like I know they had like Matthews, but he was like the straw that stirred the drink, man. And like again, he had a hell of a career, man. And he's like, again, kind of will go down as one of the better like 2-man game off ball guys, and just all time beauty off the floor too. So yeah, man, hell of a career. I shot him a little text after that, but yeah, no, he's an all-time beauty, man. Great guy.
Yeah, also had some of the worst commutes in NLL history. I think wasn't he going from LA to Saskatoon?
Texas, I think. He's in Texas.
Crazy.
Oh yeah, Dallas to Sask, which is not. I don't think there's many.
I don't know if he was a big Friday practice guy. I'll say that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of sending someone a text, Paulie, that's a nice little segue into your brother being a piece of garbage. Just shout out to Dan. I'm sure Dan will never listen to this, and he won't even see that I called him out on Twitter, so I had to send it to him. But I told him I had the film ready for the
on the contrary, he says he needs to get back into the podcast. So he says he's going to get back into Back of the Bird. So maybe this is the one. Maybe I just point him in this direction and say, hey, maybe listen to episode 131. Lomi's got a couple of things he wants to clear off his chest with you.
Yeah, and it's just a shame. You room with the guy early in your career. You think he's going to guide you, and then when you need him most, I think the funniest part is he's such a dad that he's got his read receipts on, and I can just see that he read the text and then just fully iced it. So shout out to Dan. But yeah, it was funny seeing that little that clip of him after the kids went down 11-0 to the adults. He was a little. He had some good words for him. I love that the kids were all so shook, man. But I don't know what Bar Down's doing that game in the first place, like what the reasoning is. But
that one again, like it was a little like ridiculous. So like he told me that they were doing something, but I didn't know they were playing the kids. And then it like came up in like my YouTube feed or Instagram, so I watched it. Then I like sent him because I like wanted to see like my nephew, so I was watching. And I was like, oh man, like they're just getting pumped, which rightfully so. They're 10 years old. Like even if you're AAA, you just size and speed, you just don't have it. But it brought me back. And then my brother was like, yeah, the kids were choked in between like the first and second. Like I think they legit had expectations that they're gonna wax these guys, and then just kind of like reality hit them in the face. And that's I think when my brother gave the speech. But it brought me back to like single A father-son game when my dad was coaching. So I'm pretty sure probably around the same age. It was like minor Adam. So I don't know how old you are in minor Adam, but like I'm going to assume we're 10, 11, around the same age. And these parents, there may have been some alcohol involved. Again, at that point, you don't really remember. But then you look back, like, yeah, they definitely were drinking. And this was full contact adults versus like, dude, they were rubbing us out and just like whooping it up, beat the wheels off us. And I remember, same thing, we were in the change room after it. Every single guy was crying. Like, why would they do this? Like, your dad fucking cross-checked me. Like, we were just shook, crying. It was and I'm sure they're in the other room just hammering beers. Woo! Just kidding. Like, it was incredible, man. Like, just brought up some PTSD, but just brought me back to that. It was incredible.
That is childhood trauma 101. That's like the parents. Yeah. That's like the parents that get the Grinch to show up on Christmas Eve and just take all the presents and fuck the kids up.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, all time thinking about that. I remember that some of those father-son games back in the day too. I'll be doing that though to my kid one day. I'll be doing the same thing with some Cottage
100%.
Springs. I'll have this
Yeah,
Cottage Spring
punched
new
up.
bag and box on the bench. Um, is there Donnie? I know you want to mention our buddy Snoofer.
Yeah. Just want to do a quick shout out. I know people always like when we talk about gear on here. So this summer I was out in Coquitlam for the Minto, looking to make a change with my sticks and just kind of try something new. And I ended up getting set up with Snoof and with I want to try the East Coast Dyes heads. Snoof dialed it up for me. It was great. Since then, East Coast Dyes has sent me a couple more and or one more, and they just copied the pattern that Snoof did for me. So I just want to kind of shout out everyone. I'm using the DNA 2.0. They're a new sponsor of the league, so really cool. Tied it up for me with the East Coast Dyes mesh I've been using for a long time, and just want to say thanks to them. And if you if you are looking for new sticks or whatnot, I really enjoyed using them. A nice little touch, and just want to say those guys, I appreciate it.
Cool.
Hey,
On
Donnie, hold on.
yeah, go on.
With this, tell me if this makes you cringe or freaks you out. But not to bring it back to my goal scoring, but had the 2 in the preseason, and I only had one stick, so I go to Joel Laval, who's like our kind of stick guy. I'm like, hey, but and he used to string my sticks back in the day. I'm like, hey, but I just need I get a head from Teddy Cornley. I'm like, hey, can you string this stick up for me? Like, just duplicate it like this one. So he does. Not really duplicated. The one I was using had 2 shooters. This one has 3. My guy will throw around with it. Just switch to it right away.
Wow. I don't
And you
hate it.
scored?
You just need the magic. You need to feel it. If you love it, you love it.
Wait, did you score with this new stick?
Yeah, the 2 I have this year. I used it like I switched right before the first game. And like literally the shoot around, I switched to it.
That is sicko stuff. But
Wait, what's his name, Potty? What's the guy's name that strings him?
Joel Laval. So
Joel.
I
Shout out to
played.
Joel.
I played. Yeah, Mark Mesh. Like again, you'd be too
Yeah.
young for. But
Yep,
they were
yep.
like the original. I played junior with them,
Okay.
so
I wasn't
I've
too
known him
young.
for a long time.
Mark Mesh was right in my wheelhouse. That was
Yeah.
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 So
no one's ever taken more shots other than me in junior than Joel Lavelle.
But dude, he had a fucking cannon.
Cannon on him.
Yeah, cannon.
On the note, I think on the note of sponsorship with the league,
Yeah.
you talked East Coast Dyes. I think this is a good segue into a good little kind of behind the scenes look at one of the league's new sponsors, Kilo, which we're partnering with as well. So we brought Andrew on to give us a walkthrough of kind of what the product actually is. And what it can do for you, and the partnership with the league, how that came to be, and then the future plans as well, to kind of give you guys some insight. The league announced a partnership with Kilo, and the plan is to launch for the 8 US teams, as well as the unbox programs. He touches on that. The drink itself is essentially right now they've got the healthy alternative energy drink, which has got your green tea extract, your coca extract, and some amino acids in it as well. So I know a lot of guys in the league are drinking energy drinks before the game and whatnot, maybe at halftime. So they'll be testing that out. But then also he touches on it in the little conversation you're about to hear. But they're planning on putting out like a hydration drink as well, which I'm sure the boys will be taking advantage of both during the game and on Sunday. So why don't we pass it over to Andrew and our little chat with him about Kilo. Okay, cool. Well, we're really excited about this here. Back of the Bird has taken the time to put together a little partnership with Kilo, who's obviously, if you're a fan of the NLL, you may have seen the ads on the boards, you may have seen the ads in commercials or on social or what have you, and we wanted to go straight to the source, bring you the founder, and give people kind of a walkthrough of what the drink is, and how the partnership came to be, and some other interesting stuff. So, Andrew, I'll pass it over to you, man, to kind of introduce yourself and walk us through, exactly what the brand is and what people can get from the drink.
Oh, absolutely. And thanks so much, Dan. I appreciate you guys taking the time just to learn more about Kilo and understand what we're trying to do with the NLL and overall what we're trying to do with our beverages. So I guess I'll dive right into it in the sense of what we're doing and what we have and, why we feel we have something more of a natural, cleaner alternative. And everyone is saying zero sugar and when you look under the hood, you understand that there's dangerous other ingredients that kind of supplement that space when we're looking at artificial sweeteners that let's call it what it is. They're carcinogenic. World Health Organization has called it out to be. So that was really the birth of this idea and origin of our main ingredient, which is coca extract. So our decoconized coca extract comes from Colombia. We've partnered with a company that has pretty much set up the identical structure to what Coca-Cola still uses in their supply chain with the original soda. We're just looking at using it a totally different way from a different country. So that was really the long and skinny of why I left the banking industry. I saw this as a key point of difference, and the founder of Power Leaves Corp, which is our Coca supplier, came to me and asked if I wanted to try to make some drinks with it. And call it a year ago is when we took on that undertaking, and we've been blown away with our formulation team, which is a notable multi-billion-dollar formulation company that does the work for pretty much most brands that we see in coolers today. So I went to them, structured an agreement where I brought them coca and with my innovation, and I wanted their innovation with their other functional ingredients and how they really formulate beverages. And my pinnacle was always clean label, from sweeteners to functional ingredients to you name it. So that was really how this thing really escalated at the velocity that it has, was working with the right partners. And we brought them coca, and we started with an energy drink because this is really the hardest category to make taste good naturally. And that's really what was again, the key goal was to be natural, where we could list this in natural food distributors, but then right also into traditional distribution as well, and really truly providing not just a zero sugar, but an alternative to sugar, that's actually healthy and drives functionality with good taste being the number one pillar, because we can all make drinks taste or very functional with all these specialty ingredients, but if they don't taste good, then no one's going to buy them. No one's
100%.
going to want to use them.
Yeah, I agree. And just kind of, I guess, for clarity, and this is actually curiosity for me too. So a drink like this, does it have any caffeine in it at all?
So our energy drink does. So it's 100 milligrams of green tea extract, and we also do have amino acids like L-theanine and taurine that give those same energy enhancing effects. So yes, our energy drink is caffeinated through the greenest source that we can
Yeah,
find on the market now with their green tea extract delivery. We do have an understanding that coca provides some of those elements as well, but that's still under trial and data with labs to validate all that stuff so we can actually make those marketable claims. But yes, the energy drink that we have with Kilo, is caffeinated, and we are now working on our hydration drink now, which was kind of the origin of the deal with the lacrosse league.
cool. So in terms of kind of the energy drink and the next steps in your business journey, what's the plan for kind of, if there's a listener out there that might be hearing this segment, where can they try and find it, and when do we think it'll be kind of on the shelves available for people?
Absolutely, and it's been an interesting journey from just getting it to formulation to where we like it and feeling that it's a launchable formula. And now we're going to start on Amazon first, so that will be in the next call a couple of months. My target's for March. I'm having production being done in February for our first commercial order of cans, which will be dispersed out to the teams, really just on standby for our warehousing, to start giving away to fans when we start that engagement at the rinks itself, and just start bringing some awareness to Kilo and Amazon first, and then that'll be the perpetual process of bringing on retailers and from your gas and convenience to grocer and everything else. So that'll be where we start with Amazon.
So, and I guess for kind of clarification, I know you and I have talked about it. For maybe for the listeners, the decocainized cocoa is, you're essentially that part of the cocoa is essentially the flavor that drives your Coca-Cola to like your standard Coca-Cola on the shelf. So the reason that you're putting that in the drinks is to try and find that taste without throwing a bunch of sugar in it. So it's almost, you're going down the route of having a healthier energy drink that tastes good. I think, yeah, just kind of maybe give a little bit of background as to the process of how you do that to the coca, and then what that flavor kind of brings to people as well.
Absolutely. And that's where Power Leaf does the heavy lifting in Colombia and getting this raw extract, which does adhere to GRAS listings. It has been there. So yeah, it has a very dynamic, called a rainbow of flavors when you actually smell and taste the raw extract, between like wild berry, raspberry, to has like cinnamon minty notes. So um, very profound impact, more so from the science background. It's the flavor because we're using such a minimal amount, just like Coca-Cola is. Um, we found that it has this very profound strength on reducing bitterness, which when we're talking about formulation and all this, science stuff is how do you make drinks taste good naturally with plant-based or uh, clean sugar alternatives in a way that, people will enjoy. And that is what Coca has, done the heavy lifting of taking all these elements that are bitter naturally when you're talking about caffeine or electrolytes, fungi, cannabis, you name it. Like it could go in theory, and we've seen it in demonstration now between electrolytes and caffeine to really take that bitter shelf away when you're tasting these. And some people like the bitterness, like don't get me wrong, but when you're trying to infuse all these different elements together with vitamins and everything, you do need something like this. And this is a natural extract. And that's what's driving home the key point of difference with Kilo and how we're achieving our natural. We can't call it organic, but that's a totally different endeavor altogether. But in terms of natural, yes, from flavor to functionality, this is what Coca has proven to us to really do that work in terms of reducing bitterness, which allows us to top note it with healthy alternatives when we're looking at, call it stevia or organic agave nectar. Um, those are the key things with Coca in this stage is it has nothing to do with flavor really. We do have our one of our call it original flavors, Pura Coca, that we are trying to resemble what Coca naturally tastes like. So we kind of took those elements of what it the flavonoids that Coca represented and just try to enhance them with our natural flavors. So yeah, that's what I'm most excited about. Is it kind of gives us both options, and when we
Yeah.
do other future extensions, and we see companies like Olipop or kind of who you name it, like you see Coca or soda, and at the end of the day, we're going to make one that tastes wouldn't say identical, and nor do we have any mission to do that. But yeah, it does have a very interesting range of flavors, but more importantly is its ability to allow us to create what we're calling our Coca or Kilo Coca blend. So that's going to be universal across any category that we want to go into. So between energy and hydration and gut sodas, which is what I'm really actually most excited about,
Yeah.
um, is that space. But yeah, that's kind of the long and skinny on Coca on how
No.
we get it from Colombia and how we're actually now implementing into functional drinks.
And I
Yeah.
think you're
Hey,
based in, you're based in Canada. And was this going to be available on both sides of the border or just in Canada to start?
It's going to be on both, but it's just more. That's more of like just a corporate, capital strategic decision, call it.
Okay, got it.
But yes, our deal that we've struck was with the 8 U.S. National Lacrosse League teams. We're also considered the founding partner of the Unbox League. So, right there is where the borders kind of have some overlay with just that partnership together. Because I can't go into the Toronto Rock Stadium, but if there is an unboxed function, we can be present. But our focus is the U.S. because of that nature of that deal. But there's been a recent development in the company where we're actually looking at establishing our Canadian subsidiary with Indigenous partners. So now we are going to be targeting going in and having Kilo products established and distributed into Canadian reservations.
Great. That's awesome, man. And
Cool.
it's a good segue too. And I know we talked about it in terms of your partnership with the Downey Wenjack Foundation. So maybe touch on that a little bit, and then we can kind of wrap it up from there. I think this has been a good informational session for sure.
No, thank you. And then that's kind of evolved from me talking and kind of getting buddies with Rob Hellier over a year ago, where we initially talked about it just getting into, call Vegas, Desert Dogs, and doing some testing. And that was, again, the over a year. And now it's evolved into, let's just do the whole league. Like, if we're going to do this thing the right way, this is, to even further backtrack, our coca comes from the indigenous people of Nasawala, Colombia. Power Leaves has a foundation established with those indigenous, and everything that's been done has been on an approval standpoint. So that's the reason why we've been able to go in and help build this new economy that can provide some peace and show the greater good of the coca leaf. And because of that reason, I wanted to make the bridge from indigenous Colombia to indigenous North America, and striking that deal with the National Lacrosse League just made natural sense when I was talking with them, call it just over a year ago now. And that's what's evolved into me wanting to support the Downey Wenjack Fund, just to show that we're not just supporting Indigenous, we are an Indigenous brand to our identity in some respect, and it just makes natural sense to support this cause, and in our efforts of reconciliation between non-Indigenous and Indigenous people.
That's great, man. And I think this is going to have some legs and get people excited. And I know we talked about it. You don't want to just be the drink of the NLL. You want to be the drink of lacrosse everywhere. And I think that's a really cool mission. And I think it's the right community to come to, because we've learned firsthand that whenever there is something that this sport can get behind, or this community can get behind, they welcome it with open arms. So we appreciate you taking the time to kind of walk us through all that stuff. I think that part's important, right? To peel back the layers and understand what's going on under the hood, and then, what this drink will be used for, and also, where the company's laying down its roots and getting involved in. So we appreciate you taking the time, man. Everybody out there, I know we're going to be eagerly awaiting the Kilo to get on Amazon, start pumping those things out. And I'm sure all the bird fans out there will be giving it a try and buzzing around the neighborhood after. So again, Andrew,
Awesome.
appreciate you taking the time, man.
Cheers, man. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Awesome.
Thanks, man.
bro. Beautiful. Appreciate you guys listening to that. Again, we're excited about that. And I think there's some future opportunities there with our decoconized coca. Because again, it's something that they essentially put in the drink to remove the bitterness, is my understanding of it. And it's something that's used in Coca-Cola. And he's the only other guy that can that has access to it. And he's planning to do it and put it in a bunch of different drinks. So give it a try. If you see it anywhere, it'll be available on Amazon in March, I believe he's targeting. So, again, proud to partner with them. But outside of that, around the league, I know we wanted to touch on. I think just dropped the ball. One thing I wanted to touch on, and Donnie, I'm glad you put it in the notes because I actually read through it today. But Dan Arestia's article on his trip to Banditland. Really cool insight. He got some cool videos and stuff. And again, kudos to him, man. Loving the games that much that he's taken an 8-hour train ride to get up there and go see it. Obviously, if he's writing that and that it was worth the trek, people got to get out there and watch this league, because it's a special thing. It's been really cool to see as a fan from my perspective too. So give that article a read. I think it was awesome. Any thoughts, Donnie?
No, I agree. I like a lot of Dan's work, and just appreciate him kind of looking at the there's lots of people looking at stats and whatnot, and just kind of talking about the experience of it, because I think everyone in the lacrosse world kind of realizes something special is going on there right now, especially, and happy to see him kind of chronicling it, and obviously getting to see a Paul Dawson goal live. live in
Paulie,
person,
what's your goal song?
live in concert.
Oh,
It's
dude,
I know
that's
what it is. It's I Ain't As Good As I Once Was by Toby Keith, isn't it?
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
Classic.
electric. Dude, it was electric. It's so funny. All the guys were dead. I mean, everyone kind of knew that was it, but then it starts playing. Guys are just fucking howling on the bench. So yeah, I thought it was a good little touch. Again, I didn't think it was gonna get played this year, so I'm glad it got played once.
Um, I think. Do we think it's probably time to set? We haven't even mentioned we got Greg Downing on this week. We've been bantering our wrenches off here.
Yeah, and I want to talk about a new sponsor we have. So
The sponsor, boys.
yeah, so we are lucky to be partnering with PO Athletic. So PO Athletic, skincare for athletes is the kind of slogan. They sent us these boxes. Paulie and Dan, I'm going to make sure they get sent out to you ASAP as well. And basically it's skincare products for athletes. And we have a code with them. So BOTB10 is the code. 10% off all products on that. So go check them out. You can order the box. You can order the individual products. I want to go over a few that are in here. The first is the muscle recovery gel. Looks like this. They're working with a bunch of Olympic athletes like Andre DeGrasse and Summer McIntosh.
Heard of them?
Yeah. So the muscle recovery gel was developed with Andre DeGrasse to deal with soreness and muscle fatigue. Uses magnesium chloride absorbed subdermally, there's a big word, to optimize your muscle chemistry. And I think the key is it says it has all the power of an Epsom salt bath with the convenience of a tube. So it's just a gel that you put on. And then one that I think is really kind of cool for for all of us traveling and whatnot is the daily exfoliating facial cleanser. We also
Gotta
have
wash your face. Gotta wash
Gotta
your
watch
face.
it.
yeah, and we have folks on here like us who probably need to use that product ourselves, and I know we also have a lot of folks on here who probably know someone who could use that. Won't stereotype, but there are perhaps some wives and moms on here who know that their people in their lives could maybe use some of this stuff. So I think that's a great cause. There's also these athletic wipes, which if you don't have access to showers or whatnot, are a great option. Obviously, if you have kids, and then they have a deodorant as well. And there's also
Is that a natural deodorant too?
it is. Yep, it's a deodorant, natural mineral deodorant stick. Looks like that. So, anyways, BOTB10 gets you 10% off, and really excited about growing with PO. They got some new stuff coming out as well down the line, and some big name athletes that are in line with them. So it's cool to be part of the team.
And that's, I think it's a great product too for it's coincidentally Paulie sitting in the parking lot post men's league game, but I think that's a great product for anybody that's playing in something like that. Throw it in a toiletry bag and keep it in your hockey bag or your lacrosse bag if you're playing Masters or whatever, and jump out of the shower, do it in the shower, whatever, and you're going home to the wifey. She might be a little upset that you hung out in the parking lot for an extra few minutes, but at least you smell good when you get home and you're exfoliated and you're going to be recovered with your Epsom salt bath in a tube. So what more could you ask for? But
yep, we'll include all the links and everything. But
yep.
PO Athletic is the brand, a new brand in here in Canada, and really excited about it.
Yep, beautiful. Well, with all that being said, I think we're proud to bring on Greg Downing here for the interview, the skincare interview. Are you kidding me? So why don't we shoot it over to GD?
All right. This Auburn, New York native played 207 games in the National Lacrosse League, the second most ever by an American-born player. He attended Fairfield University, where he was a three-time All-American with 141 career points. He was selected 6th overall in the MLL draft by the Los Angeles Riptide and was selected with the 43rd pick of the NLL by the Boston Blazers. He played for the Blazers, Swarm, Mammoth, Black Wolves / Firewolves, and ended his career with the Toronto Rock. Welcome to Back the Bird, Greg Downing.
Thanks, fellas. Thanks for having me here.
The LA Riptide. And are you repping the sweater right now too? Is that what you got
I might
on?
be a little LA Riptide. It still
Wow.
exists. It still exists. I think Suits back in the day offered me like $250 for this thing. I'm glad I kept it.
Yeah, that probably would have came in the form of an IOU if you actually executed that deal.
How does it feel, by the way? I had this in the notes that all these years later, we now have professional lacrosse back in California, and we had a team called the Riptide come back too. Like we've
I
already
know.
gone far enough that we had them both.
It's come full circle.
Yeah.
It's like we were are those colors the same too as the
I
New
think
York
they are
Riptide?
similar. Yeah. People used to give me shit. I'd wear these around like when I was playing for the, I guess the Black Wolves, right? People were like, hey, give me a Riptide shit. I'm like, no, this is the original Riptide. I can wear this.
It's a knockoff. The new one was a knockoff, so you're
Yeah.
good. Let's we'll rewind the clock, man. Let's jump back into kind of growing up. How'd you get into lacrosse?
Geez, I started a little late for the area. So yeah, I grew up in Central New York. Playing, it was like an end of the year hockey party or something. And I think it was in 6th grade, and guys just had lacrosse sticks back. My parents were a little late picking me up, so we were in the backyard playing lacrosse. And I grew up playing hockey and baseball, but just loved it. So tried to get into like a field program that summer. It was all jammed up, so we did like they had this one it was called box, but it was basically like field lacrosse and over the smooth concrete you guys are familiar with, but basically, shooting down the alley, playing field lacrosse in a little bit more tighter confines. But started there and then played, I think, first thing of field in 7th or 8th grade. Yeah.
Around that time, you're from not far from Syracuse. That was obviously a good era of Syracuse lacrosse. Was going to Syracuse games a part of your kind of childhood or not quite?
Not quite. I had some friends that brought me to a few games like 8th grade, 9th grade, once we started getting into lacrosse a little bit more. But really, my parents didn't have any interest in the sport, really didn't introduce it to me. So we weren't going over there. But like 8th, 9th grade, we started paying more attention, catching the games on TV. But then one of my good friends played, and his dad used to bring us over to some games.
How did so walk us through? I mean, obviously, picking up the stick 7th, 8th grade a little bit later than typical. How did the recruiting process go then to end up at Fairfield?
Geez, I would, I guess, consider myself a late bloomer a little bit. Was just kind of like more of a raw athlete, but picking up the stick, carrying it like a briefcase, and playing a little bit of defense. I think I started to come around to actually scoring goals and being a little bit more of an offensive midfielder. My junior year, recruiting was a little different. Then it was like 2 big tournaments, and then in New York State we used to do the Empire State Games. I don't know if you guys have heard of those, but yeah, it broke up the state. And so my junior year I made the central team, and that kind of like opened the gates a little bit for the recruiting. But I'd say generally slow. It's kind of in the mix where like low end D1 through like D3 schools were reaching out. None of the big dog D1s. It was still a little raw, but honestly took a visit there. My cousin was a year above me at Fairfield, so went there, took a visit. Small school. I kind of like that aspect of it where it wasn't huge classes. It was more 20, 30 people in a class. Brought me to the beach. Grew up around the water, so I'm a little bit of a water guy, and I said this is the place for me.
So I had that in the notes. Every time I've ever talked to anyone about Fairfield University, the first thing people talk about is how the students live on the water, basically. Is that true? And did you kind of have that experience?
Yeah. Junior year, we were a little off the water, but senior year, just you could fish off the dock or our back deck at high tide. It was nice. It was nice. I had some real good epic wiffle ball games in the sand at low tide. No, it was good times.
So you guys are basically doing like the Top Gun, like the Top Gun scene. Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of jeans. Exactly. Jorts, no shirt. Yeah.
Wow. That is, I mean, what a way to recruit people to get there too.
It was the way to do it. Yeah. We went to a party, and then, it's a small school. So by your senior year, you know what all the girls look like. But the first time you're there, it was like, oh man, this is incredible. The good looking girls everywhere, and you're on the beach. So what more could you ask for?
That's incredible. Well, talk us through kind of your like early days there to transition into kind of, more structured field lacrosse. Were you D-Midi right away, or did you start out the O-Door?
No, I was more of an offensive midfielder. So I probably would have played more offense my senior year in high school. I tore my ACL, so didn't play at all my senior year. Didn't play at all in fall ball at Fairfield either. So first real reps were in the spring, couple scrimmages, and then right into the gameplay. But I was more of an offensive midfielder through college. First couple years in the MLL too, just playing offensive midfielder. But then the league went from I don't know, 10 to 6 teams or something like that. So you got to find a role to stay on the field, stay on those rosters, and
Yeah.
switched over the D mid scene. But yeah, mostly offensive midfielder at Fairfield.
That's the way to do it, and is to avoid fall ball at all costs. And that's almost pulling a Canadian card. I'm like, I'm a little banged up from some.
Yeah, a little banked up.
I think
The Minto got to me this year,
yeah,
So
yeah. I used to play that card, and I'd lose in the first round of the playoffs every summer, and have like 3 months off, and still be like, I think I'm hurting a little bit. But when you were there, how were the teams at Fairfield?
we were pretty good. We had one of the years, my sophomore year, we won so we were in the Great Western Lacrosse League. That was like Notre Dame, Ohio State, Air Force, Butler when they had a team, Denver. So there was some good teams out there, some good Canadian boys on those Denver rosters. I found out later, but yeah, it was. We had pretty good teams most of the time I was there. Freshman year, a little slow going, but the other years we had some good players too. Bachlet brothers, they played in the MLL for years, so we had some good teams.
There's obviously a lot of funny things in the history of conferences in the NCAA, but for you guys, fishing off your back deck in the Atlantic Ocean, being part of the Great Western Lacrosse League, is a little ironic.
Playing TU and at Denver, that's fun stuff.
Two other questions I had about Fairfield. One, I don't know if this is a recent thing, but were they doing the SantaCon when you were there?
They were not. They had this one called Clam Jam that was similar, where you look down and you just see a packed beach of people partying. But the SantaCon, somebody showed me this year, like I'm playing men's league hockey, and the guy's like, "Hey, Fairfield, you seen this?" And I saw the video of it just jam packed. That looked like a party.
And then when we played in Fairfield, a bunch of people were talking about the Sea Grape. I think that's a Fairfield bar. What's that place like?
Yeah. That's like the only bar down the beach area there. It just gets absolutely packed with people. You can hardly move in there. It's just one of the classic bars that's been there forever. You talk to people from the 70s, it's all Sea Grape, but it's like basically the only bar down in that beach area if you want to go into town. But most people are just so they can walk back to their house or whatever. It's just gets jammed up, and that's the bar down there.
You guys got any jerseys or anything hanging up in there? Or?
No jerseys hanging up in there. I guess we weren't good enough to qualify for the Sea Grape jersey.
The Great Western Lacrosse League Championship didn't get it done.
I gotta know, what's the craziest thing you ever caught off your dock during high tide? You ever catch anything?
People were they would get stripers, and then a couple of guys started figuring out when they were running, and they would put some nets and catch a bunch of stripers. But I mean, they were good size. They were good size fish. But
what a way to end a night. You come back from the Sea Grape, stumble back down the beach, high tide, get a line wet.
Oh yeah. It was fun. We had FIFA was a game back then, so if you ever got beat 5-0 in FIFA, you had to jump in the sound, like no matter what time of year it was. I caught mine in like February. It was pretty bad, but it was it made things fun because you could have some guys go out to the bars, some not, and anyone who came back a little banged up, people would take advantage of them. So it was fun. It was fun.
So then, I mean, obviously, after that, after you wrap up your time at Fairfield, what do you remember about the MLL draft process?
Back then, so they were doing like this this combine that I think they must have hired some third party crew to come out and do this combine, and it was kind of comical actually. So they would remember sitting in a folding chair, that like a typical cafeteria chair, and they had us we were like bench pressing. So you're sitting in the chair, you're bench pressing a medicine ball at a speed gun, and somehow they were like I swear to God. So they're like somehow turning this into like your bench press or something. I'm like, we could just bench, figure that out. They had like, one of those fold up or one of those tents that you bring like a tailgate, and they had like a chart on the back of it. It was a kind of a windy day, so I'm standing up on the thing, and she's like, all right, so we got 5'8", and I was like, lady, I'm not 5'8". I've been, my license says I'm 16, it says I'm 6 foot. Like it was just a
Oh,
joke of a
that's
process.
that's that's my favorite early day MLL, like MLL stuff a little whiles ago is there's some good stories there. So was it mandatory? Like, did everyone go, or was it like something you kind of
I,
like opted
I
into?
think they did like 50 invites. Yeah, but yeah, some people opted out because you got like the guys who were just finishing up their run on the national championship there, so they're probably like a week off of that, and some guys sat out. But we did like that, and then we scrimmaged afterwards, and probably that scrimmage afterwards is the only reason I got drafted, honestly. But I played pretty well in that. Like the coach for Riptide at the time, John Tucker. Who else was in that draft? Like Mitch Belisle was the second round. Alex Buckley, another midi from Brown. But so like at first meeting with him, he's like, man, I hope that scrimmage wasn't a fluke because I never heard of you before today. It's like, all right, nice.
What a nice thing to say to a guy. You're riding the highest of high coming off the scrimmage. He just brings you right back down to earth.
Yeah, right back down. Never heard of you, bud. Go
Yeah.
prove it again.
Yeah, go pick up the balls, and I want to see another scrimmage. What? So you got picked to LA, and then is there like you go out there for training camp kind of thing?
Yep, go out there for actually no. So that was by the time everything rolled around, we were joining them like game 3. So
Okay.
they brought like myself. I think I watched a game up in Boston area, and then I think the next weekend they flew Mitch and I out to to California for the first home game.
So you and Mitch, just putting like going through it today. You guys would play for the Riptide together, and then I think maybe for the Cannons together, and then the Blazers together, and the Swarm. So you guys really were with each other for a while. What was that kind of like coming into the league, and then really playing together for a while?
Yeah, it was great. It was great. We were roommates too on the road. Worked for Trilogy for a little bit too. So
Nice.
Mitch and I were spending quite a bit of time together. No, it was good. Always have a familiar face on team is great. Especially the indoor. I don't know as many of you guys from the Great White North up there. So it was good to have a couple Americanos with me.
There you
go. What for just kind of summarizing the MLL part of it, what do you think the best team was that you played on?
Man, we had some good teams. We won it in 2011. Boston Cannons, like Rabel, Pat Heim, Ryan Boyle, Max Quinzani. Remember that guy? We had really great defense too. Jordan Burke and that. Yeah, we had a really good team there. And then probably the most fun. You didn't ask this, but the most fun was the Denver Outlaws. 2016, we won it. That one was just a ton of fun. We were like 2-7 and had to basically win out to even get to the playoffs. Just couldn't lose another game. I think we ended up like they were kind of canning a year too. They traded Junior for something, and it was just like, all right, let's move on in the future. And then we just didn't lose a game after that. So that was fun.
Were you on the team when Bergie like jumped into the Baltimore Harbor or whatever?
Yeah, it might have been after the championship around there.
Yeah, that checks out. So who else was on that? What Canadians were on the Outlaws that year that you remember?
Bergie. Bergie scored some clutch goals too. I was looking around, I'm like, yeah, that's why you need a couple Canadians on the team when it's clutch time.
Yeah.
You guys get all the reps. I feel like you're just so much better. Like, from how old are you? You're playing like Minto. You're doing best of sevens, and then you're going all the way. You can play, for Man Cups till you're 40 or something.
Yeah.
Just all the reps of those game 7 situations. I feel like that adds up over time.
There we go. And then what year was it? Like after year 1 that you were drafted to the NLL, or when was that?
It was the same year, so it was like the following season. I had met Randy Frazier, who was like he's going to be assistant coach for the Boston Blazers at the time, and so I basically was lacrossed out after a full season going in the MLL, and I called him and said, hey, if I don't go to this draft, like, would you guys have any interest in picking me up? He's like, actually, I would prefer if you didn't. That would be great because none of these Canadian GMs have probably ever heard of you. They want to see you. We'll pick you up in a later round. And so I was like, all right, cool, great. So they picked me up in a later round. But I think there was something, if I remember, there was something up with the CBA that year. So they suspended their operations for a year. And so all the everyone that they had on their roster just basically went into a dispersal draft. And then the New York Titans picked me up in that. Made it through, I think, to the last, to the last cut, and then got cut to the last one. So didn't make the team, but then the Blazers came back next year and they just signed me as like a street free agent, I guess.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
And then had you had, outside of kind of what you talked about at the beginning, like your first kind of taste of lacrosse, had you had any kind of like taste of box or anything like that leading into that?
No, I was your classic of like field bucket, only arm guards, no ribbies. Like, not, I was completely clueless out there. It's like, I remember I'm playing defense. I don't need rib guard, I had absolutely no clue.
Yeah.
So, even some of the basic drills, like the blue line weren't like learning everything. It was completely different. So,
someone in our locker room was just talking about that the other day. I won't say who it was about, but the American defender thinking that they don't need to wear rib pads is still alive and well today. So yeah, so don't worry. Yeah,
I caught one in the side. You definitely learned the hard way. It was
you
like
could
the
actually
first 2-man game.
Yeah, you're actually better off skipping the shoulder pads and keeping the kidney pads than doing
Take them, like cut them and just tape them around. You're better off for those. Yeah. No, it was like the first 2-man game. It was like one to the ribs, and then I think it was Jeff Biggest, if you guys remember him. But he was like, "Hey man, I got an extra pair. You really need these." And he just like chucked it to me. I was like, "All right, thanks. You're right. I do."
Yeah. Was there anyone that like kind of during that time of your rookie year that kind of like took you under their wing to kind of teach you kind of the ways of playing D? Because it's a different system of D, right? And there's just so much more you can get away with. Was there anyone that kind of grabbed you?
Man, we had a really great. Well, Polly probably one of we were just like on the Blazers. So the first real experience I had was playing with the Blazers that next year. I think it was like I think it must have been 08-09 year. And like Cosmo was our goalie, right? So he was super helpful, really talkative on helping like defensive concepts, where he wants to see shots. But then once we have like Jason Bloom was like one of the veteran guys, Paulie there. I feel like we had a good group of guys. We had a few other Americans too. Like Mitch was on that team. There was Jack Reed on the team. We had some other Americans too that still were learning the ropes. So no, we had a great group of guys and super helpful for just learning the nuances. It's just completely different. My buddies were giving me shit about getting caught. I'm like, I don't know. It's like a completely different sport. It's like the concepts are the same. Put the ball in the back of the net and everything, but every way you get there is completely different. So, big learning curve for sure.
You guys also had some studs offensively, like Dan Dawson, and I think Casey Powell got there. Shooter was there for a bit. As someone who like wasn't familiar with the box game and with like the Canadian players, was it like immediately like who the heck are those guys? Like, is it pretty clear, or is it kind of a learning process that way too?
No, a little bit like Dan. I had never heard of Dan before. Then he comes in. I'm like, Jesus, this guy's like the best player in the league. I've never heard of him. Shooter, probably just from like, I think maybe he was on Calgary one of the year before. So we'd maybe played him once, and then the second year of the Blazers, he was on the team. Casey, obviously, American, watching him at Cuse and everything, knew about him. But it was. It was fun to see those guys. It was fun to see Casey too, honestly, because seeing someone who at that time had probably taken his licks already, that I didn't see him when he was playing for Rochester and everything, and he had told me he went up and played a couple, either a few games or maybe even a season up there, just to kind of get the reps that he thought he needed to get better at Indora, and he was really starting to. I think he won MVP one of those years, or maybe it was like coming off of one or just before the Titans, something like that. But he was, it was cool to see an American really like learn the game and be good, very good. So
I think I'm thinking here for those that are watching us. Obviously, you're going to be able to see Paulie's not here right now, so he's asked me to park the Blazers days for when he does get back. So what we'll do is we'll jump into your time with the Swarm, which I'm really interested to hear, because I think the more and more that I've kind of turned into like a fan and, seeing what people are saying online and stuff, it seems like Minnesota still has quite a few fans that like love the Swarm. So What was it like, playing there? Obviously, I think you're with Mitchie again, so you can't shake this guy
I
for the life of you.
can't shake the
Hey,
guy. Can't shake the guy.
Mitchie and Callum Crawford, the two guys
Yeah,
going through your teams.
that's
It's like,
right.
holy shit, these guys are on every team together.
I know. Well, we can get into it later, but I could thank Croft. I feel like going to Colorado, I called him the first year I was so. I guess back to your question, the Minnesota days. I had I was living in Colorado at the time, so the Blazers go belly up, and it's like, all right, well, there's a dispersal draft, and I was telling teams, hey, I live in Colorado now, would love to play there. And the pick before Colorado, who knows if they would have picked me? Minnesota grabs me. So, I'd see those guys at the airport. They're going to a game. I'm running through to, going wherever Minnesota's playing that weekend. But yeah, ended up with Mitch, Croft. We had a great team. But that first year, Benny, man, we had so many good players. It was, I think, maybe the year before Suits in that group. And then they brought in it was like 1 or 2 years, that core group of like McIntosh and Shane Jackson and Creppy, like all those guys. I think they had like 3 or 4 first round picks and just really kind of built their core off that group. But yeah, we had some good times. The fan base too was awesome. I think it was just one of those things where, it's a different ownership group than the XL Center, and you're just hemorrhaging money every night if you're not really selling that place out. But it was yeah, we had a great team, and the fans were awesome. Corporal there probably keeps his website probably keeps his website up to date. He was
helped
like
us with a
fan.
lot of show notes. Yeah,
I'm sure. But yeah, no, it was a great experience. Awesome with those guys there, and it's still learning too. Like it was still a big learning process. It was a lot of veteran guys too that I learned a bunch from, so it was good.
One of the guys that comes up a lot in stories and even off the floor, someone that always pops up in making guys laugh and stuff is Shane Jackson. What was your first impression of that guy? Because for me, as I got to know him, it was like this. He's a human cartoon character with his one-liners.
The one-liners that get me to this day. I'll still think about some. It's like, I drink her bathwater. I feel like I was walking and he dropped that. I was like, never heard that one before, but fan, I like it. He was the best. And I was just a little guy out there that was just always be mucking it up. I love that about him. He'd always be like face washing people. I'm like, hey, the littlest guy out there just does not give a shit. Love it.
But and I mean, you mentioned it. That's a pretty good core group and a hilarious group, right? You're bringing in Creppy,
great
Matt,
group. Yeah, Creppy in the crew.
Rolling in too, like. And during that time, I guess, that's probably, I don't know, in terms of who would have been on the Blazers before, but what was it like kind of seeing Suits in his prime, just fighting everybody left, right, and center? And I think he was transition player of the year during that time too.
Yeah, that's like one of the best years I've seen from a player on my team, because it was like he was doing everything, like scoring goals, pushing transition, just like setting the tone with basically made it a point to fight every, tough guy on the other team. I think him and Paulie probably got in a scrap that year, but he was just like, doesn't matter how big you are, going in, going to fight you out, have 12 to 15 loosies a game. And he was just like a heart and soul of that team. So that was really cool to be a part of. And like you guys have played with him, him, like he's just pumping the boys up in the locker room too. It was like, and then, the whole time he's pumping the boys up.
That's a very good way to summarize it. But so was it when you wrapped up your time in Minnesota? Is that when they moved to Georgia?
Yeah,
okay.
That was the last year. So that was the first year that I was able to be an unrestricted free agent. That year, then they moved to Georgia. Yeah.
Yeah, that's classic NLL rules. You got to put in 40 years of service to get to free agency.
Yeah.
So I mean, and that makes sense, right? You're living in Colorado at the time, and I assume that's kind of what led you to want to sign there.
Yeah, I was living like 10 minutes away from the stadium, so I'm like, this might be a better place to play. A little easier on the body, but I would go to those games. Like I got injured one year in Colorado and still had some friends who would go and like sit and watch those games. If I wasn't traveling with the Swarm that year I got injured. So, it was great. And really, I don't think, I don't know if I would have been there or not, but Croft kind of vouched for me with Gov at GM at the time. Was like, yeah, this guy's actually pretty good. You should give him a look. And I think Steve came out to me maybe like 2 or 3 games in, and I was like, damn, you should have been here for years, man. Like basically Minnesota probably just tried to trade me at some point. He's like, I don't know who this fucking guy is. Like, hey, we're
Yeah.
not trading for this guy, you know. So no,
Um,
it ended up working out great, and yeah, had some really good years in Colorado.
This is going to sound like I'm chirping you, so I'm just going to clear that I'm not chirping you about this. But your career high points, goals, shots, everything came in the rookie year. Did your role change throughout the career, or how'd you kind of see that?
I did play. I ended up playing like maybe a couple games up on offense
Okay.
with Toronto, but yeah, or excuse me, in Toronto, I specifically remember one of those games. But another one of them, like you're gonna have to ask Paulie about this. There was a giant line brawl. Everyone's gets.
Okay.
It was basically like Toronto got pissed at Paulie for. I think he like fought Doyle during the game, and then the next
Okay.
shift before the whistle, everyone just jumped everyone, right? So it was like their full defense grabbed all our offensive guys, and so they all got kicked out of the game. So like, I move up there, probably had like half my shots that season that game, you know.
yeah, get them all on net, boys. We don't know when we're going to
Get them all.
elsewhere.
Get them all. I had so many goalie belly pads that day, I'm sure. So.
That's good. So, I mean, talk to me a little bit about, we've had a few guys on that have spent some time playing for the Mammoth. Like, what was it like playing in front of that crowd and battling in a division that, at the time that you got there was pretty well dominated by a really good Saskatchewan team?
Yeah, playing there was awesome just because I just had so many friends and family that were able to come to the games, and it was just that was a really cool aspect of just being a little bit closer to what I was calling home at the time. So that was fun. The coaching staff was awesome. I think I learned so much from that staff that I took with me. But it was really like Patty Coyle. At that point, they were kind of like a three-headed monster of a head coach. So Patty Coyle was really focused on the defense, and he was just such a good coach for me. Would kind of call it like it is if you didn't have a great game, but he was so passionate and cared so much, and was a really great teacher of the game. So I learned a ton. We played some new defenses too that I hadn't played before. So it was really great to learn from those guys. And yeah, we had some good teams. It seems like every team though that I leave, they win a championship like not too long afterwards. So I don't know if that's if I've had a hand in that at all. But Georgia left. Or Colorado, they win one shortly after. So,
Well, you were in Colorado from 16 to 18, or at least in that range, right when Sask was kind of hitting their heyday. So there's,
yeah,
I mean, the old conference system. Again, I always think it's crazy. Like looking back when I'm putting together these notes, like the Colorado, Calgary, Sask guys, it's like the same team every year. Like it's the same battles every year. So.
Yeah, the Calgary with Dixon and Dobie over there, Shatler at the time, like they had a fantastic offense, and then man, Saskatchewan was so good with obviously great players there, but their system too just like wore you down. They just kept like rinse repeat, like up picks, and you feel like you get through a couple of them, and then the third one would get you, and they get a good look. And they had great players like executing those plays too. You had like Matthews feed and McIntosh and those guys on the backside. They were really good. And then obviously Corbs and Rubish, like you just had monsters on the defensive end for them too. So
Yep, Dilks, yep.
Yeah, there was some Dilksy too. Jeez, yeah. Yeah, there was some really great teams in that division at the time.
Hold on, Paulie's coming in here.
What's up, boys? Hey, GD.
Hey, there he is. Duster's
There
coming
he
in
is.
strong, Paulie. Like it.
I've only had it for like 6 months.
I was gonna say you're in mid-season Duster form. I like it.
Paulie,
You were
it's
just
good
talking about
timing.
you. I don't know if this is what you're gonna say, Lomi, but you were just talking about you jumping Colin Doyle.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you want to go? Like, do you want to go over that story, or were you guys talking about the game?
They were asking why I had so many shots on offense. I said, well, there's this one game that Paulie and the gang decided to get crazy out there, and all of a sudden I'm playing offense.
Yeah, we had 7 guys left because they jumped. So like me and Doily fought, and it was kind of a perfect storm because like Doily it was like a long, like drawn out thing. Like I kind of dirty Doily. He comes back at me, cross check him in like the chest, and he like flops him, and then like we're chirping back and forth. And then it was his like first game back in Toronto, I think. So anyways, he like kind of kept coming at me, and then like was waiting for the refs to like break it up, and then I think he kind of was too, and then whatever, we score off. So I'm just like fuck, like so we fight, and I'm not trying to like really beat him up, like as stupid as that sounds, and then legit, so like we fight, go to the box, it's all good, and then Troy and Terry are the coaches. So out comes Patty McCready, all these guys, and Dan's like looking at our bench. He's like, hey, like we got to get off. And then he's looking at the ref, like McCready's coming right at my brother, and then he's like, dude, like he's telling the ref, he's like, blow the whistle, blow the whistle, blow the whistle, because he knows if we fight, like all those guys get kicked out. So then
He's like, we can't have GD out the front door. Blow the fucking
No.
So legit, like they started line brawl. So it was my brother. I know like my brother was there. I think Daryl Veltman fought Reed. I can't remember his name. But it was like my brother fought McCready. Veltz fought, I think Fenhouse. It was like 5 in a row guys, and that's when
Yeah. Was it Jeff Gilbert in the mix? I think he was fighting.
Yeah,
someone,
Gilbert
right?
fought somebody. And that's when it was only a 16-man roster.
Oh boy.
So 16 runners and 2 goalies, like 18-man roster, I should say. So legit, we have like one. I think we were going 6-10, or maybe like 7-9. So yeah, so it was like we had like 7 guys, 10 guys left on the bench, all our D guys. So GD like at least was kind of like a 2-way guy. And it's like, was that your first or second year?
I think first year. I think
It's gotta
first year.
be.
Yeah.
So it's just
No
like,
clue what's
he's
going
just-
on out there.
Yeah, just learning the game, doesn't know what's going on. Bunch of Canadians fucking beating the shit out of each other. So he's playing, So
If I recall, our offensive guys got the better of those. Like somebody forgot DV was a lefty, and he was just pumping left.
So he surprised the guy. We can find the clip, but yeah, like DV ended up beat. Like it was actually like our old guys kind of all beat like their D guys up. Like, they all got the boot.
Well, Dan's not an
And
easy
then-
draw. Whoever drew that one, too.
Yeah, that's a tough.
For sure. And then the funny thing about that was too, like, yeah. So if that was 2009, probably.
It was 2010.
Okay.
Friday, January 15th.
Okay, so yeah, it would have been like Toronto's first home game. Daryl gets back, but so it would have been my brother's second year on like the department. So like during those games, my dad used to like buy hundreds of tickets. So literally like 50, 60 firefighters come to the game. My brother's like 2 years on. Everyone comes to watch the game. Just gets booted in like the first fucking 1 minute. So, and then like when I got hired, everyone's like, "Yeah, we came on." I'm like, "Yeah, that was kind of my fault why my brother got kicked out."
Kind of started that one.
Yeah.
This is what the penalties looks like for that game.
Can you, Donnie? Does that game sheet have shots by player? Because I would love to see GD's shots.
It doesn't. Two apples for GD though.
Wow.
And it was like we
Gotta
lost
be
in
seconds,
overtime.
5 seconds.
Right? We lost in overtime like 8-7 or something. It was like super low scoring.
Yeah,
Eight-
super
8-7,
low
yep.
scoring,
Yep. That's right.
Good memory, Paulie. But
Yeah, Polly. Nice.
Sometimes.
And
We're
two
gonna
goals
do,
for Mitch Belisle. That's gotta. I don't know
Belisle.
how many 2-goal games he would have had.
he's gonna be listening to this just so juiced driving in the car.
Yeah.
But Paulie, we actually intentionally kind of skipped over the Blazers days when we were walking through the timeline here. So we got all the way to Mammoth in 2016, but we'll go back to the Blazers. We want to kind of touch on maybe like GD. What do you remember about the West End Johnnies, or were you like living in the house in Boston?
I got a little stint in the house. I think I got laid off from my job at Merrill Lynch or wherever the hell I was working at the time. I did a little 2-week at not the Den the first year, the one that they kicked you out of town. They went Dorchester or whatever town that was. It wasn't right downtown, like that beautiful brick house that looks like it got helicoptered in right next to the guard on that one. No, I was living in New York City at the time, so I was just taking the train up, and it was actually just great though, because I could just get on whatever train I wanted to the next day. So we would Johnny took care of us, that's for sure. We would do some pregame meals there. Let us through the line at the end. There'd be, I think it's the same. They got like country downstairs and DJ ripping upstairs, and all the guys were ready to roll after those games.
Yeah, and he's got 2 spots now. He's got a spot out by Fenway now as well. But
I actually saw him walking around there like last year. He's still ripping around. It was like 1 a.m. He's still buzzing around that bar.
dude, yeah, he's
John,
like 60 years old, just a goddamn
yeah,
machine. Like
just a
fucking
machine.
crazy.
Yeah.
Did you ever take place in any of the Sunday fun days at the reggae bar? Or?
Oh yeah. Actually, I went like last year, I think, for my birthday. Got a little reggae brunch in again just to see if it was still there. Yeah, different band. Reggae brunch is still alive though. That was the best. All these guys had like such awesome. That first year, Paul, you guys had such awesome apartments, and then the brick house there that was just an absolute shit show. But man, those were good times.
Paulie, what do you remember about, we talked a little bit about kind of training camp and learning the ropes of kind of like playing box lacrosse defense. Do you remember anything about GD from camp or
That
early
just
days?
where my memory's gonna like at this point, like we still had what we always had. We had Tommy Ryan, right? So he was still grabbing kind of like what we would call like obscure like American guys, right? So we had like GD, and like it's so funny because GD just like wouldn't say anything. Like he's a quiet guy, but then it's like, man, this guy's fucking pretty good. Like locks down on like defense, gets good loose balls, and then like so he makes the team. But we had some absolute like beauty Americans. Remember? I don't. And I'm just trying to like think like we had this one guy, Travis Brown, who like legit
Yeah,
fucking
yeah,
nailed my brother from behind in one of the drills. Like just
yeah.
great, like an all-time guy, but just like pedal to the metal. And we had to tell him like, hey dude, like you can't really hit like that guy. If that guy goes down, like our season's over. He's like, oh, my
Yeah.
bad, my bad.
Oh, my bad. What was
But
the
no,
one Mitty from Harvard? I remember him because it was my second year, and I was like, "Oh, you can't do that, buddy." He like just like the four corner drill, whatever. He just steps down to one and hits Kazi like right between the eyes. It's like warm ups. We're like, buddy, you cannot do that. I think Kaz threw balls at him for the rest of practice. It was just like you cannot do that.
100%. No, it was so good, man. Cause like we were all like, it was still that point where we're all still young. Like it's funny looking back. Like we thought my brother was old. He was like 30 years old.
I know. I was
Like
thinking
homie,
that too.
like we
Like I'm
thought he was
thinking we
so
were old.
old.
Yeah, and he's playing a 40 something. Was like,
Yeah.
but yeah, he was. I thought he was like 28 at the time, right? So, something like that, 28, 30. It was like
He was
just probably
very
hitting
30.
his prime in the league.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was fucking crazy. But it was so good, man. It was just like a good group of guys. And like I just think when I look back at like your career, it was always just like, dude, you were always so good, but no one knew about you. But yeah, you play fucking every game, 100 loose balls, like probably 20 caused turnovers. No one like no one knows who this guy is. Plays fucking 12, 15 years. It's like, dude, that's him, man. It was fucking awesome. It took you a
That's what
while
I
to
was
learn
going.
how to score. This guy would get so many breakaways, but fucking couldn't figure out how to score.
Brutal. I'm
Still
like,
has the
where's all
American
the net to
stick, though.
shoot at? Where is
I know.
all the net to shoot at? I'm used to seeing plenty of net here. What the hell? You got to get the goalie moving.
Well, why don't we kind of go back to on the timeline? How did it end? Were you free agent again after Colorado, or did you get traded to I guess it would have been New England?
Free agent again. So that was another like probably Crockett vouching for me again. He was playing in New England and I was moving back east. So I just said, hey, this is going to make it way easier. I was like an hour and a half away from Mohegan Sun. Really didn't want to leave that Colorado team. Like really, I did 1 year where I was doing the commute and it was a little rough. And I think like Patty would tell you, I was just not at my best. That commute was killing me by the end of the stretch there. So I think better for both of us if I, got back east. I was driving to games, just a lot easier to get to games. And yeah, basically to Paulie's point, nobody really knows. What I'm calling GMs and saying, "Hey, I'm a free agent. You think I could basically come out for your team and see if I can play with you this year.
Yeah.
But I think Croft vouched for me. It seemed to be like always a little bit ahead on the teams I eventually would go to. So I think his word helped out quite a bit for those guys, at least answering the call and giving me a chance. So
I remember, I mean, at least, I'm thinking back to those years. You guys had pretty good seasons going, and I think it was, the COVID shortened one. You guys were having a great year. What was it? What was your time like? What do you remember most from playing in Mohegan and those teams?
man, I had a lot of fun. We had some really great teams. Trying to think of teams we had. Like Croft on that side. I just remember, I think Joey Rez maybe came over in a trade or something, and that really like gave us kind of like a kick over the edge offensively. I think on one of the years. Yeah, we had just knocked off a really good team too before. It was like maybe the game or two before COVID hit and shut the season down, but we had like Q was young, just kind of coming in the league. We had a really solid defense, and Dougie was really starting to kind of take shape in net. And you get a hot goaltender, quality goaltender, you always got a chance. So yeah, we had some really good teams, and it was unfortunate because I feel like those crowds at Mohegan just kept getting better and better. And then they shut it down after the COVID year, but.
Dude, I was gonna say the same thing. Like that year, or even like maybe the year before. Like, again, you guys were starting to, like you said, like pick up steam. But like, because it was a 10,000 seat arena, so I think it held like 7 once they like shortened it or something along those lines,
Yeah, the
right?
bleachers come out for when there's basketball. The bleachers all slide out, so they push them back, and the top row's at like 20 feet or something. The bleachers.
Yeah, but they were like, but you guys were getting like 5 to a game. Like it was like starting, like you said, it's starting to pick up steam. And honestly, like it was a bitch to get to, but like the setup there was kind of second to none. That
Yeah,
casino resort was like unreal though. It was so
yeah.
fun.
You'd walk in Friday and wouldn't leave till Saturday or Sunday afternoon. You wouldn't be outside, just smelling the recycled dart smoke cruising around.
Yeah, that was the only problem walking through the casino. Just people hacking fucking darts and cigars.
Yeah. We'd see him at like 6:30. We're walking a shoot around. There's still people just hacking darts, playing cards and shit.
And you're saying, "Hey, Brocky, we gotta go, buddy.
Yeah,
It's time for practice."
I mean,
wasn't there a thing too? But you guys like couldn't gamble.
Yeah, like I heard some guys maybe
we're like employees of like the
sneaking their buddies, but yeah, technically you're an employee of the Mohegan Sun, so you're not allowed, and you're on probably 30 cameras every moment you're walking through that place. So they figured out real quick if you start slipping some gambles there.
Yeah, I know there was one player. We won't mention his name, but I'm sure we can all figure out. But yeah, he'd be giving guys like on the away team like, hey, play a couple.
Yeah. I think that got found out at some point, probably. I'm sure.
Yeah, another guy you played with who is the only guy that has more games played than you as an American is Manny. What was what
might have
what
to
was
get some like stem cells in my knee and come back for a couple games to
Hey,
get over the hump there.
It is close. It's close.
There's rumors of expansion, mostly started by me, but you never know if there's gonna be, some more teams to get you on. But what do you remember kind of going through that maybe together as a couple American guys, kind of towards the end of your careers, mastering the box game and playing for that long?
Yeah, it was great. Like he's a fantastic leader. So he's just, one of the guys that really helps kind of galvanize a team, strengthen a team. We both kind of took our licks a little bit earlier in our career, really learning the game. I think he would tell you, maybe he started with like stealth, I believe, but out there probably sitting some games, watching the guys get after it, and eventually became, I think when he got to Philly, like a real staple in the lineup, like every week. But yeah, just great playing with him. I played on a couple USA indoor teams with him as well. So got a good relationship with him. And it was, like I said, just a great leader. And, I really like that part of the indoor game where it seems like every step along the way, I've had some really great leaders to see. Like Dan was the first one. And I feel like, that's maybe a little bit different than my experience with the field game. It just seemed like have a really great leadership group, and maybe there's something about, I don't know, like the camaraderie of a little more of a physical game. But that leadership really seems to help, and that was really cool part. Yep.
He's got you by 6 games, by the way. So that's all. That's all you need. He's got
come
two.
on.
All right, 6 games. All right, we got to
He's
find
got 213. You had
and we'll
207. And
This
you do
is-
have him. You do have him in points. I don't know why I'm just roasting him now for no reason, but you got him in points by a bit. So
This is why Tortorol was invented. Let's get you back out there.
get the atomic bomb. We can smell you from
Yeah.
2 rooms over.
I am certain we can find a GM out there. Maybe there's a team that's got 6 games left and they're out of the playoff picture.
No, see, the thing is, you got to get him in for training camp. That's the thing. You got to get, because it's the same thing. It's like, all right, we never heard of this guy. He's
Never heard of. Who is this guy?
Played 206 games in the show, but we'll give him a chance, and then he shows up.
I haven't seen one
fucking
of
locks
them.
guys down, and they'll make the team. He's got to come right from the beginning. So he'll make the
Right
team.
from the start,
Plays
yeah.
like him.
That's kind of. I'd like to have it like that too. Got to grind it out from the start. Earn some respect.
What's the record, Donnie? How many games?
It is. It's Dan Dawson, 322.
No, I know. I mean, with Manny, how many is it total?
213.
So we could make a documentary on this called "The Road to 213," and
Well, actually, you need to play 7 games because tying him would just be kind of a
true. Yeah, they can't tie.
the road to 214, and we'll follow you through getting all the shots in your knee and then going to training. We might even have you go to like the walk-on camp before training camp, so that you got to really go through the whole meat grinder. That's, I mean, again, I know we're joking around, but that's incredible, man. How many games you played, and my old man always said this is like the best defenders are the ones that you never know are out there because nothing, like they're just no mistakes and things are going the right way. So it's I think it's a good thing that Paulie's giving you grief about no one knowing who you were or whatever.
No,
I think
I'm not giving you grief. I'm just like,
I know,
dude, I
I know.
fucking love you. But that was like, it was so funny because like, it was like that for every team, man. And you kind of alluded to it, but it was just like, me and my brother would see like how was this guy get picked up? Like we loved him in Boston. He's fucking pressing up the floor, strips guys every time. Like I said, like automatic on loose balls, and then again he goes to a tryout, makes a team, plays fucking 18 games, playing fucking first base off. It's just like, I mean, again, like give you credit for grinding it out, but I'm just like at some point someone's got to give this guy some fucking respect, man. I think, and to that extent, I think towards the end of your career you did get it, or I hope you felt like you got it because like you earned it for sure.
Thanks, Paul. I appreciate that. No, I think in Colorado, Patty Coyle probably mentioned my name a couple times in interviews. Like, I feel like there was one interview he had. He's like, "You guys keep asking about Coatsy and Hopi and all these guys." He's like, "I haven't heard one thing about Downing here. He's a pretty good player, And I feel like the guy was like, I don't know who this guy is. I'm going to move on to the next question here. It's actually funny. A little quick funny story about that. So I got drafted to the Riptide, right? 6th. And at the time, it was like Quint and what the hell's the guy's name? He does the Washington cap, Beninati, right?
Yep.
Joe Beninati. Yeah. So they're like up on a stage, right? So they got all this. They got all these notes and things for the people who are getting drafted. And so I get picked 6 and I go up there and I'm waiting to sit down and they're just like rattling through. They're like, shit, we got nothing on this guy. So they just waved him by. They're like, nothing for him.
That's funny. That is good stuff. But let's move into, I guess, what was that? What do you remember about the move to Albany and playing there? Was it just the 1 year you did or the half a year before getting traded?
No, it might. Geez, how many years has it been in all? I definitely did 2 years there.
I think it was 1.5.
1.5.
Okay. Yeah. So, but it kind of felt like it was. I just didn't feel like a 1.5. It felt like a longer stint because it was the same team basically. Like it was the same guys all moving up there. Clarkey, all the same. Clem was there, so it was all the same crew. But yeah, it was. It was a little sad because we had such a good thing going in New England and it just got stopped short. And then, the nature of the league, everything changes from year to year. So we just got different roster and playing in a barn the first year that was we were on the up in New England, and it feels like you're kind of starting back over from a low energy crowd, let's call it. And yeah, it was just a little disappointing that we weren't able to just keep riding the wave of what we kind of were starting to build there in New England.
Yeah, I've heard guys talk about that season Callum was having before COVID, and just looking at the numbers, if he had kept the pace on what he was at, he would have had 125 points, which is, up there for the most ever. Do you think that was the best season you ever saw from a teammate?
Yeah, I would say, yeah, offensively, he was absolutely crushing it. It's tough to say. So, like we were talking about Suits, that year was incredible seeing
Right.
that, but there's a different aspect of the game, right?
Yep.
But yeah, for sure. Like they were dominant down there. Like they had a couple games, you could probably look it up, where it was 5, 6, 7 goals. Like he was just crushing it, and it just seemed like also clicking. Like I think we had Steph LeBlanc over there. He had a really good year. We just had a really solid offense that seemed to be working really well with each other. Obviously, Crofley in the way, but yeah, it was a good thing. I mean, CP had a couple good years in Boston, right? Didn't he had a good year in Boston. Junior was like maybe one of the tail ends in Colorado, scoring a bunch of goals. So fortunate enough to see some really good offensive players, but Croft was pretty dominant that year for sure.
So how does the whole trade to Toronto go down? What do you remember about that?
Trade to Toronto. It was I mean, Clarkey just kind of like let it to me. He's like, yeah, I won't do this if you don't want to. I kind of said, I'd like to stay here, but if you think you're getting something, worth it, then let's just do it. And I think it was a second rounder, so I could kind of sense that Clarkey wanted to do it. So I was like, all right, let's. I mean, we had like maybe 2 wins at the time. I got a little banged up that year, and I just wanted to make sure that Toronto knew, like, hey, you're getting kind of an old dude that's a little banged up. So I had to sit some games just to make sure my knee was healthy enough. But I think from their perspective, they had some. I think Corbs was hurt. We had some, maybe Mitch the Snoo was also hurt a little bit. So they just needed some reinforcement on the lefty side. So I think it made sense for them. But yeah, so I said, Clarkey, if you're going to get, what you want to get for it, we'll do it. And obviously Toronto had a great team too. So selfishly, I was like, yeah, I can maybe help this team go on a run and, try to win a championship with these guys. So remember kind of the decision part of it, but then getting there to Toronto was a little bit weird just because I'd never been traded before. And, usually just entering teams like from training camp, building that rapport with your teammates on. This is kind of jumping in midway, which was a little different than I'd experienced before. But like Dan was there, Rosie was there, so I had some familiar faces, and those guys were all really welcoming. Latrell was great, Brad Crete, like all those guys were great, just welcoming me in. Did the whole we're in stars, the first drill, let me score at the end. Everyone gets so good group, great group of guys. And they couldn't have made me feel more welcome when we got there. So it was nice.
That's great, man. Well, there's a couple things we appreciate all the time. There's we've actually
can't really hear you. You muted over there?
Am I? Can you guys hear me?
I can hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Oldies.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I got you now.
Okay, cool.
These are from like the original iPod or something. So
yeah. And those were stolen from the Blazers den back in the day.
Down in between the couch cushions. Yeah. Slice of pizza.
This is a fun fact that Donnie put in the notes. You've had 3 career fights. 2 of them have been against Sean Evans. So what do you remember about your battles with him over the years?
Oh man. Well, you guys all know Evie. He likes to get under people's skin a little bit. The first one I remember us in Calgary with playing for Minnesota, and I'm looking over. We're like up 4 or 5 goals with like just under 5 minutes left. I see him and who was Mulaski, probably coach there at the time, like looking up at each other and nodding and looking over at me and looking back at each other and nodding. I was like, I think I know enough to know what's going on here. So I like go up to Suits, who's about to take a face off. So I was like, hey, Suits, I'm pretty sure that Evie's going to jump me right now. Like, if I don't do anything, does he just get like a 5 minute and we could just wrap this game up right now? Like they get a 5-0. So like he starts jabbing me and like try to get, and I just go like kind of hands up, whatever. Like someone will jump in, take this, and no one does eventually. So I don't know. I probably gave him the old classic American judo flip or whatever, and called it.
I thought you were gonna say. I thought you were gonna say you went up to Shoots and say, "I think Evan's about to jump me. Can you go stand over beside
yeah,
him?"
you want to? I'll take this draw. You want to?
Yeah.
And then the next one was I asked him to fight earlier in the game. I was so pissed at him. Like I got a bad wheel, and he just went in. There was like no shot he was gonna get this loose ball. It was like on the left of me, and he's on the right, and he just like got me right on the knee good. So I tried right there. I think you were on that team, Paul. He was when he was in Rochester. Yeah. So
the first year in New Rochester, I think he ended up breaking his hand in that fight.
Oh really?
Yeah.
I don't know where he hit me.
Yeah, iron chin, buddy, iron chin. But like, again, I'll remember. I kind of vaguely remember too. So I think like, yeah, you guys were going at it, and then I think again we were getting. That's when that team was bad. I'm pretty sure we were getting shit kicked, and I think he took all his stuff off on the bench and then went back out on the floor.
Oh really? Yeah. Well, he went out. I remember. Because I tried, and then it was like a TV timeout, and I was like, "Oh, you're gonna talk a bunch of shit and not do anything when I want to fight." And so he knew I was pissed at him because he fucking hacked me right in the knee. But then, to his credit, he comes up to me when I was getting a shit show. Like, "Hey, Downs, you want to go on the next one?" I was like, "Yeah." So he's a seasoned vet fighting. I got no clue what's going on. So he's looking, making sure I'm the one out the door. And I don't know if he told the goalie to go throw in the corner or whatever, but yeah, we got into it a little bit.
That's amazing. And then the other two questions we like to ask guys to kind of wrap things up. From a gear standpoint, did you have like a piece of gear that you held on to or used kind of throughout your whole career, or any kind of like weird ritual that you'd do?
Gear, I really enjoyed those Reebok. Maybe because they're the first ones I ever put on. I don't know if they're a little more flexible, but I still got the original Reebok ribbies that I still throw on there.
Are those the ones that have the almost like Under Armour material as the straps?
Yeah, the straps. Yeah, yeah. You had like a little like areas to flex up front too. No, those things are nice. I like this. I do the peppermint under the nose. That's probably a weird thing as I got a little older, but not too superstitious.
That's a Connor Kirst special. Kirsty loves the peppermint under.
Is that? Yeah, it's good. Clears it out.
He wipes it on his under his eyes. He put a little on his finger and wipe it. Yeah.
Oh, under his eyes too. That's next level there.
He's evolving.
We used to. I'm looking over here because I see I've got Burt's Bees here, but when we were in university, we used to take the Burt's Bees and put it under our eyes and then under our nose, and we just call it beezing because it would just start like wake you up and get you going and also make your eyes water. But I can't believe Kirsty does it under there.
Same idea.
Yeah, you would think it would just make his eyes water if he's doing it under there, but
right.
And then last one for you, jersey number. Is there any kind of reason or inspiration behind the number you wore?
Yeah, I was fortunate to wear number 8 through majority of my career. My Uncle Pete. So I used to go up to my Uncle Pete's house a bunch. He lived on Owasco Lake, right in the area I grew up in. And he always had this, like the old varsity Leatherman jackets, like it had number 8 on it. It was his hockey number. So when that was available my freshman year playing hockey, I scooped it, and it was there for lacrosse too. So just kept riding with it.
That's great, man. Good stuff. Well, man, I appreciate you taking the time. This has been one of my favorite recaps we've done through. But you guys have anything else for him before we let him go?
Yeah, I got one more. Danny, we were talking about this before, but if you could do it all over again, your career, is there anything you regret or anything you wish you had kind of done differently, or anything you wish you could take back on after your career is all said and done?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, how much time we got here? I think one of the biggest regrets, like I remember talking to Dan and Kaz, and they were like, if you really like indoor, you should go up and play in the summer. You should go out. And he actually, again, this is going to go back to our stories of what we've been talking about. But he hooked me up with, is it Hall? Who was the coach out or a GM out in Victoria? 2010, maybe 2009,
Yeah.
2010.
No, the name's gonna escape me now, but shoot,
I
because
thought Hall
that's
was
it's not
something
Hall.
like
Chris Hall was a coach for Victoria, but
that. Okay.
it doesn't matter. Well, Christensen was
Yeah,
the
but anyway,
coach,
so
but
he was basically like, no, like I'm gonna cut a local guy for you to come out here, in the summer, and then I just didn't. I think Coquitlam maybe reached out, and I just shut it down, just played MLL. But I do regret not going up there and kind of learning the box game earlier in my career. I feel like I got to the point where I was like mentally, physically good at like 28 to like 32 range of like understanding what they're trying to do. Understanding like no one would ever let me play like kill. I would just be like on the bench because all these up picks and things would be confusing for a little American like myself. But just like not learning the little nuances of the game that make you a good defender earlier in my career, I'd say is a regret. Yeah. So get up, play in that box, and just going through the reps of. I mean, how many games would you play in a summer if you went on a playoff run too? You might play like double an NLL season worth of games.
Yeah.
And I just feel like I could have got so much more experience.
It's a good answer, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that would be the biggest regret, I'd say. Yeah. And
Awesome.
probably would have had a few good times with the boys up there too.
I would imagine that comes with the territory. That's where you really trust me. There's been I never did the out west thing, but it's like the amount you learn on a late night with the boys when you start talking shop about what we got to start doing to fix the power play or fix the penalty kill. A lot of that is solved between the hours of 2 and 4 a.m. Which maybe a lot of the boys don't remember the next day, but we'll review it again that next night. Yeah. Well, we appreciate you taking the time, man. It's been awesome, and shout out to Mitchie for setting this up. I asked him to brainstorm some guys that we may not think of to kind of get on the podcast. I wanted to get more American guys on, and he was the first name he threw out there. So appreciate you taking the time, man. It's been awesome.
Really looking out for me still. I like it. I like it.
Awesome.
Thanks,
and guys, appreciate it. This has been great. Appreciate you guys having me on.
Yeah, then the road to 214 starts now. Let's go.
Let's go.
GD. See you, buddy.
Beautiful. Great chat with GD again. Shout out to Mitchie Belisle for recommending that we have him on. That was awesome to go through his career. And again, the road to 214 starts now. So we're going to start getting any kind of injection you can think of, hyperbaric chambers, whatever it is. We're going to get GD in it and get him back on the floor. So anything you guys wanted to touch on before we wrap up for the week?
Quick pet peeve. I want to get a pet peeve off my chest here. Been incorporating the old sauna cold shower. If there's a cold tub, couple good lives I go to, we got the cold tub. Pet peeve, guys that come in the sauna like fully clothed before the workout.
What?
Yeah, you've never seen that?
No.
It's insanity. Yeah.
What
All
the
of us
fuck?
are naked. All of us are naked, wrenches out, maybe covered with a towel. And then, like, without fail, man, it's like one or two guys just come in fully clothed. Like, again, they go stand and, like, almost like, what? Like, I guess you're getting warmed up before the workout. But, yeah, no, that's a pet peeve, boys.
That's gross.
Sauna,
Like going to lay on machines after that and stuff?
I know. That's what I mean. Like, it's just, hey, the sauna's for being naked with the other boys. Bunch of random old dudes. You're in there. Yeah, no, don't come in there with your fully clothed on.
Oh, I mean, on that note, I've been going over randomly to that Toronto Athletic Club in the middle of the day. I'll just do like a lunch workout or whatever, and it's like the douchiest of douche finance guys you'll ever imagine are going in there for like the executive workout at lunch.
Yeah.
Some of the old man balls I've been confronted with in this locker room. Oh, it's like it makes me want to cut it off before I even get to that age because it's just it's a heck of a look. But yeah, there's been some funny sightings in there throughout. Like just like guys are just no shame. Like someone will like there's a guy that came over just talked to us, tried to introduce himself to us. Like probably a 70-year-old guy, just no towel on. I'm like untying my shoes. He's just like basically resting his wrench on my head.
He
But
just
uh,
teabagging you.
yeah, yeah, exactly. But it
You
is
don't mind if I put this there, do you?
Nice
yeah. Hold
nice
on a
pink
second.
shoes, too.
Let me get this bubble gum off my leg here. But yeah, there's our gripe of the week.
All right. I
That's
like
a
it.
heck of a way to end it. But you guys know what to do. Get out there, grab your Cottage Springs, those punched up, or there's the Doc mix pack as well with some other flavors. And like I said, stay tuned. They've got some exciting product innovation coming down the pipeline that I am very certain the Bird Gang is going to love. So thank you so much for listening. We'll chat with you guys next week.
See ya.